I'm Don.
I'm Royce.
We're the Blue Collar Boys.
Welcome to the American Workforce Podcast.
Let's get into it. Welcome, everybody, to the American Workforce Podcast. We're the Blue Collar Boys, and we're going to get into it. We got a doozy for you.
Yep, we're going to start our very first one off with the strike of Dodge Corporation.
Yeah, so 1,000 workers, Local 2093, hit the picket lines. Their contract ended May 31st. It's actually Dodge Corporation, but it's actually American Axle.
And manufacturing.
Yep. So they are a Tier 1 supplier for GM. So what is a Tier 1 supplier? We had to look it up. We had to Google it.
Well, yeah, I know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so a Tier 1 supplier, all that means is they supply direct to the manufacturer.
Yep, cut out all the middlemen.
Yep, they are supplying axles to General Motors for the Silverado, the Canyon, the Colorado.
Yep, I also looked up they're supplying to GM for hybrid and EVs as well.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's one of the things I quickly brushed on.
Okay, all right. So I have long been, I don't want to say against union, but I always looked at them kind of with like a side eye. This is one of those, from what I'm reading now, this is one of those situations where I kind of side with the union boys. I kind of got to say, you want to know what? They legit got some stuff. Now, it's not to say that the workers themselves are perfect either. I'm sure that there's areas that they could probably improve on, but that's what negotiations are for, right? When they go to the negotiation table, the employees say, hey, we want X, Y, and Z, and then the employer should come back and say, okay, if we're going to give you X, Y, and Z, we need to see improvements on A, B, and C. That's the way I kind of envision that.
It's a little more formal version of haggling at your local flea market.
Well, yeah, and I gotta tend to agree with this. So, and like we said in our introductory video, if there's some of these facts that we've got wrong, we encourage you guys to message us, email us. If you're watching the YouTube version of this, comment on the video. We are in no means, we're just researching what we can find online. I am not a union man. Royce is a union man.
I am in the public sector.
So we kind of there's maybe two different views sitting here at the bar.
Yeah, I've been on both sides. So yeah, we're gonna have two different views on union employees per se. We'll get into it at a later session on labor unions versus non-contract employees or at-will employees.
Right.
But
today we're focusing on American Axle.
Yeah. So we need to rewind back to 2008. They had there was a financial crisis with the company. They went on strike. I believe we were in a recession at that time.
I do believe we were. Yeah, that was under the Obama administration. I do believe.
I think that was Obama.
Does Obama have anything to do with the recession? That's an argument for another day. We're not
here to argue politics.
Yeah.
But the company was suffering. They eventually, it was like an 87-day, 89-day, something like that strike that they went on.
Yeah, something along those lines.
And the workers realized that if they didn't take a pay cut, the company's going to go under. And when you're in a recession, you don't know where you're going to get your next job at. It's not like now where if I got canned tomorrow, I'd have 3 more job offers. So, Don, what do you say that those employees decided to take for
So yeah, so they took a big pay cut. They went from $29 an hour to $14.50 an hour, which that's like 50%.
That's
That's a big pay cut.
a serious adjustment.
So now I will say, like I say, I gotta give the employees a lot of credit because back in my younger years when I first started doing outside sales, I dealt with a trucking company. They had 3 branches. There was one in Michigan, one in Indiana, one in Ohio. Not to get into any kind of deep dive into it, but the bottom line is that the trucking company as a whole was in trouble. And this was a union, all of the hourly employees were union. And the company went to the employees and said, hey, we're in bad shape here. So we need to renegotiate. If we want to continue, you guys want to continue to have jobs, we gotta make some drastic changes. They went through a bunch of contracts, ideas. They threw, cutting on some health care, cutting on some wages, cutting a little bit of both, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The employees did not agree to any of it. So at one point, the trucking company come back to the negotiation table and said, you guys didn't agree to anything. We can no longer go on. We're done at the end of the week. At the end of the week, every one of those workers was in the unemployment line, including the non-union workers. So, long story short, I got to give the employees of American Axle a lot of credit. They did what they had to do to save the company. Now is where the problem is. So they went from $29 an hour to $14.50. We bounced back to a little bit to about $22 an hour. The company is back solvent again.
Yeah.
Looking like they had $8.4 billion in profits.
That's
Pretty substantial profits.
for a company with 1,000 employees.
Yeah.
That's pretty decent in profits.
Mm-hmm. I should note too. I passed American Axle a bunch of times. They're right off of 131 in Three Rivers.
Okay.
So when we went down to my brother's in northern Indiana, going right down 131, I passed that building a whole bunch of times. Never knew what it was.
Probably a good sized building too,
It's
isn't
a
it?
very big building. Yep. Never knew what it was until this whole thing came to light. We started researching. I'm like, I've been by there before. I know exactly where that's at.
Yeah. Their current contract expired May 31st, and in June 1st, they went on strike.
Yep. From what we're seeing, online, negotiations have stalled. So I guess one thing you got to look at too, there's going to be a trickle down effect because GM has about a 2 to 3 week supply. That if they don't get back to work and that 2 to 3 week supply runs out, that means GM is going to have to shut those lines down. They're going to taper back truck production. If they're not making trucks, GM doesn't need the line workers, so you're going to see layoffs come from GM.
And you might see Dodge Corporation in violation of their contract with GM, and GM might pull the plug on them.
Yeah. The downfall is I don't think so. All of the dies and all of the stuff that is used to manufacture these axles are proprietary to American Axle. Nobody else has these dies. Now, does that mean somebody else couldn't make the axle? No, that doesn't mean that. What that means is it's going to take some factory somewhere a lot of time to tool up
It would.
in order to fill in for American Axle, and by that time, the strike might be settled. We don't know.
Now, even being a union employee such as myself, I still try to keep a good head on my shoulders and look at both sides of the coin. If I was a union employer and my employees wanted a giant raise, I would be a little upset. And then the union's going to pretty much tell you what's going to go on. You can stall, but it's quite the game of chess when it comes down into it, because there's a lot of You get your angry employees that are union employees. You get your union that's backing them, saying, "No, you're going to do this," and they're going to say, "No, I'm going to do this." However, looking at the side of the union employees, when you see that they have an $8.4 billion profit, what are they doing with all that?
Well, and that's not to say too. That's an $8.4 billion profit. Not included in that, how much money was paid to the CEO and the board of directors. That wouldn't be, if and I don't know any facts. I'm just throwing numbers. But let's say the CEO got $1 million bonus. That $1 million is not included in that 8.4. They paid that $1 million and still had an $8.4 billion profit. Yeah. So we're not. This $8.4 billion does not include any kind of bonuses that upper management would have received or could have received. I'm not saying maybe they didn't receive a dime. I don't know. I'm assuming out of every large corporation, I'm assuming that there was some kind of bonus for upper management. I don't know that for a fact, but that's how most large corporations work. So I would have to assume that they received something.
All these employees. Well, one thing I've learned, because they're going from a $22 an hour to they want over a $30 an hour pay increase.
Well, and now that's a cap. They're not saying we leave Friday night getting $22 an hour, we come in Monday, we get $30. What they're saying is we want this $22 an hour, everybody's capped. You're not going to make any more. What they're saying is we want that cap to increase to $30 an hour, so as time goes on, we can work our way up. I do believe that's what they're asking for.
They could do something like a 3-year contract and step it up eventually to get them that way. When they were originally making $29 an hour back in 2008, which that's really good money in 2008.
You're damn right it is. We were making nowhere near that in 2008.
No, we weren't. But to ask for just $1 more than that an hour in 2026, that seems like they should have been highballing a little bit more if that's how they were running. But I mean, that's a pretty good livable wage.
Yeah.
But they're also asking for better health benefits. I think some of their fringe benefits increase and a better work-life balance. And when I hear the words work-life balance, that tells me that they got these people working $14 an hour, and if you want to make more, you're going to be working overtime to get it.
Yeah.
And nobody should have to work that hard and make that kind of overtime and then have to pay that kind of taxes on top of all that just to have that overtime money.
Well, and so now, one thing you got to look at too, there's two sides to every story, right?
Absolutely.
So looking at it from the American Axle point of view, one thing you have to understand is any company that CEO, assuming that he's a shareholder, and technically any shareholder really, but any of your big shareholders, they're the ones that carry the risk.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you go in and if you work, let's just take a run-of-the-mill job. Say you work at your local gas station, and you make, I don't know, $13 an hour. Let's just throw that number out there. If you get one customer your entire shift, or it's so busy the door falls off the hinges because it's open and closed so much, you still make $13 an hour.
Yeah.
So you're not carrying any risk. If you don't tally a single sale, you've still made your $13 an hour. You go home at night. Worst case scenario, you're out of a job. That is the absolute worst case scenario. If the company busts, then that company principal is on the hook for all the debt. Follow me?
Yes.
So you can't, from a company standpoint, you want to treat your employees right. If you have good employees, they will in turn give you good work. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the same token, you can't bankrupt the company aside from the wage.
Aside from the wage. Treating them good.
Yes. Okay, so say they agreed to the cap. Let's just throw it out there and say, okay, everybody that comes in now makes $30 an hour. Let's say they did that. How many thousands, or probably in the case millions, does the fringe benefit increase that they're asking for going to cost the company? That's a figure I don't know as if we would ever know that. I don't know as if they would ever divulge that information. I don't know when it comes to health care. What are the employees actually asking for? What is their current fringe benefits, and what are they asking them to be increased
to? Reading the story we got, the details are a bit vague. They generalize everything that you try to read. So getting down to the real nitty gritty, what are they all asking for? I'm just assuming the work-life balance. Well, that just tells me they're working a pile of overtime. It could mean something else.
That I know. I agree.
And if you happen to be a employee of this company and listening to this podcast, by all means, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah. Hit us up. What are you asking for on the fringe benefits side, if anything? You're right. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're asking for the pay increase and a better work-life balance, and that's it. Maybe they're happy with. I don't know how their paid time off is structured. Maybe they're happy with that.
Yeah, and I want to touch upon one thing you just recently said, Don, about employees working better if you're treated better. I've worked for places that have treated me bad, and I did not give them my full potential. I would be for the first one to tell you that.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't going to give them what I felt they deserved.
Well, yeah, and
it's a human nature thing.
It is. And, every company has a human resources department. It should be called company resources because all the HR department is to protect the company from you. It really.
Yeah.
If you think about it. I get that they're the people you contact about health care and all that, and I get all that. And they're kind of up against it, too, because your HR department, whatever they trickle down to you for health care, whatever they find, they're on the same plan.
Yeah.
So whatever they delve out to you, they have to deal with the same thing. So, you have to take that into consideration, too. But at the end of the day, I think you have to look out for yourself. I think that's what these guys are doing. Nobody else is going to look after Don. Nobody else is going to look after Roy. Let's be honest. If you quit or something happened where you couldn't work tomorrow, your job would be posted Monday morning.
Oh, absolutely.
So, life goes on. The show must go on. With that said, you have to look out for you. I think that's what these guys are doing here. And like I said, I've always give unions a little bit of a side eye. Not that I'm anti-union or against union, but I've heard a lot of horror stories where the unions have protected workers when maybe that worker was dead wrong and should have been fired or should have been disciplined in some way, shape, or form, and they weren't. So I always looked at unions like, yeah, okay, maybe yes or no. In this case, I got to kind of side with them a little bit. I think they're doing some good. I think these workers deserve a little more. If they were straight up asking for more money, not, if they were currently making $29 an hour or $30 an hour or $31 an hour and they went in with, hey, we want $50 an hour and the union was fighting for them, then I would maybe disagree. But this is a group of workers, this is 1,000 workers that literally took a 50% pay cut to keep the company afloat. They didn't have to do that. They could have said, you want to know what? We're going to ride the sinking ship till she sinks and move on.
Yeah, and I'm sure between 2008 and 2026, several people have retired. A lot of new hires come in because as the economy starts picking up the pace again, more jobs are coming out there, and especially the the pay increase that's come out since COVID. Uh, all the older people that left, retired out early, they left all that for everybody else. So there's jobs available everywhere. I'm surprised they still have employees at that wage.
Yeah, it's amazing that they let it go this long, and they haven't done something sooner.
My question is how do you even keep 1,000 workers at that wage in an area as big as Three Rivers when there's so much better paying jobs out there?
Well, you had kind of touched on it earlier. I think what it boiled down to is, I think those 1,000 workers are working so much overtime that their paychecks are a little bit bloated, and they maybe didn't 100% see it so much in the pay department. More so I can't get anything done around the house because I'm working, and when I'm not working, I'm dog tired and I can't mow the yard and fix the water heater and that kind of stuff because I just physically don't have any energy anymore.
We've had times like that, at least. It's not like that all the time, but we've had times like that.
Right. Ice storm being one of them.
Ice storm. This year we've dealt with a really heavy winter that ended with a huge snowstorm, which then ended with a big rain and some warm days that turned into flooding. So
yeah,
that causes chaos.
Yeah, roads are still closed to this day because of the winter or the weather we had this spring.
I'll touch back on GM with their 2 to 3 weeks of parts. Now that's a rough number, seeing that the Dodge Corporation is running a skeleton crew of 200 employees. They are non-union employees that are salary, and they have some contract employees in there as well. So
yeah, so the plant isn't completely dead.
It's not completely dead. The contract employees, they're going to have to suffer. Being a contract employee, they're going to have to suffer beginning next year getting their 1099 in the mail.
Well, I mean,
salary employees, they're going to see a lot of overtime that the other employees are seeing, and they're just going to get the same pay, which is really bad.
Yeah, that sucks. But that, I mean, it's glad that they're. Yeah, I guess I can't really say this without it sounding. It's good that they're keeping the doors somewhat open, just for the fact that I don't want to see the GM line shut down, because now American Axle's, let's call it American Axle's situation, is going to trickle down and affect the workers at the assembly line at the. I do believe the plant is in Flint that makes those trucks.
Yeah.
So
Flint, and there's one in Missouri, I believe, as well.
So that's going to affect those two plants. And I wouldn't suspect that GM is going to put up with it for long. I don't know what those contracts look like. I'm sure there's a contract between American Axle, Dodge, however you want to word it, and GM. I'm sure there's a contract there.
Oh, I would have to believe.
And I'm assuming that if American Axle doesn't get their poop in a group, they're going to be in breach of that contract, I would have to think.
It would be breach of that contract.
And
there would be a dead era.
Yep.
Is what would end up happening.
And I can't believe that GM would put up with that. They're not going to put up with their line being stalled for an indefinite amount of time. Hey, we can't build you a truck because American Axle's on strike, so as soon as they get their stuff straightened out, we'll build you a truck. No, they're not going to do that.
And not to mention, I don't know what their numbers are now, but I read somewhere that they were putting out 1,000 axles a day.
So that's 1,000 let's call it 1,000 vehicles, because if they're doing
Oh, yeah.
EV work, you would call it 1,000 vehicles.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and I can't imagine that GM would want to put up with that for too long.
No.
Before they start looking at other ways of getting.
No.
Which
GM's a big corporation for a reason. They
Yeah.
got there for a reason.
Which brings me to another point. I think these big companies rely on other people too much, but that's a topic for another day. We'll touch on that on another podcast. But back to American Axle and the whole. I think the only people they supply is GM. I don't think they supply Ram, Stellantis, however you want to word that,
No.
or Ford.
I think when they first started with the original creator of that company, I think Chrysler was their big customer back in the day.
So that I guess I can't say that it's always been American Axle, but I told you I passed that building a bunch of times. We were going down to my brother's in the mid '90s, and that building has been there ever since I can remember going down there. So that company has to be at least that old.
Oh, yeah.
Or that building anyway, whether back at that time it was American Axle or if it was somebody different.
Now, what type of axles they make, I don't know. Are they I'm assuming rear axles for pickups.
That's what I'm assuming
That's
too.
what I'm assuming. And I don't
and
think it would take a lot to retool another company's axle into that.
I guess I don't know because I haven't paid any attention. I'm assuming. If you went out and bought a new 3/4 or 1-ton pickup today, is it a solid axle still, or is it independent suspension on a 3/4 and a 1-ton? Half-ton is
Yeah.
independent rear, right? So you're not getting an axle. You're getting a rear end housing with shafts.
No, well, some
CV shafts.
some, but you still get a solid axle. They're trying to push for coil rears
I don't
on 3/4 and maybe 1-tons. But
see, and I don't know as if you could. I don't think it would take much. I think your hang up is getting the tooling. Does it take much to actually build the axle? I don't think it does. As far as a blank axle tube or a blank rear end housing, it doesn't take. I don't think it takes that much, but it does take tooling to do it, and that's where your time hang up is going to be.
and the tooling to be able to put out that quantity.
Correct. What you got to ask yourself: does American Axle hold any kind of patents on that specific tooling? Is that even a feasible thing? If some other company said, you want to know what, we'll get to work, we'll work 24 hours a day, we'll make the dies, so we have the tooling, we can make axles for GM, and American Axle can do whatever they want. Would they be somehow in some kind of breach of... Does American Axle hold some kind of patent on... Or is that a GM thing?
I think it all is going to depend on how their contract's written.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. If you guys know, we'd love to hear on any of this. If anybody out there watching or listening...
Yeah, we'd like a little more insight. You go online where they don't have the eyes on the inside telling us what's really going on. Everything is just written journalists and reporters
yeah.
put stuff out there. All we get is what we can read.
I did read a thing on Reddit. The guy that wrote it, or the person that wrote it, I should say, it could be a woman too. The person that wrote it claimed to be an employee, one of the employees on strike. The roundabout way they put it, I mean, they want to get back to work, but they want to be treated fair. And I can't say that I blame them, and I agree with them. Yeah, I mean, I like I said before, I gotta side with the union and the employees. I think more so because the employees did the right thing and took the hit and kept the company alive. And now that the company is solvent again and is turning billions in profits, the employer is just
Another thing you could do in the private sector. When I say private sector, companies, corporations, etc. When I say public sector, I mean government entities.
municipalities, state government.
State governments. No, all those people have. A lot of those will have unions as well. Like what I meant. In the private sector, I think one of the greatest things that that company could bring to their employees as a bargaining chip is to put profit sharing on the table. Tell them, hey, instead of giving me $30 an hour, let's get you up to $25 an hour, and then we'll do profit sharing and have a certain percentage of their profits going into checks handed to the employees.
So I was going to ask, would that go into a so if you did profit sharing, does that go into a retirement account, or at the end of the year do you just get a big check?
I think I think profit sharing is quarterly check.
Oh, it's quarterly. Okay.
Well, you could set it up that way or at the end of the year, but I think quarterly would be better for living purposes.
Yeah, because let's face it, in this day and age, you got to have a livable wage. Prices of everything have skyrocketed. Everything from car repair to, if you've got to have your washer and dryer fixed, or anything like that. Prices of all that stuff. That's all gone through the roof. So if you're going to be able to keep the lights on in your own home, buy food, put on the table, keep clothes on your back, we're at that point where you got to be turning $25 an hour.
That and profit sharing also is different per each employee, because if you got an employee that is working more overtime than somebody else, their check is going to be bigger than everybody else's.
Yeah, and here's the deal: it keeps the employees motivated to do quality work.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's face it: if American Axle is turning out axles for GM, and they're absolute shit, and GM is getting all kinds of warranty claims on those axles, that's going to be a problem.
Well, I'd have to say those employees are a good, quality bunch of hardworking Americans.
I would think so.
Because I'm not saying anything against GM, but of all the recalls you see that they have, you never see their axles be one of them.
Yeah, true. So, and I would like to think that they're blue collar like us. They're putting their pants on one leg at a time in the morning.
Yeah. Going
into work with their lunch pail and hitting the time clock.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean.
And then come home and try to have a little bit of a home life.
Yeah. Try and what's de-escalate's not the word. De-stress maybe.
Yeah, de-stress, unwind.
Maybe enjoy a cold beer out on the porch.
Yep.
Catch the race, whatever it is you're doing your off time.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably another thing from their podcast is off time enjoyment.
What do us blue collars do to blue collar people do to keep from going crazy?
And when we say blue collar, we don't mean people out there just absolutely working with just their hands. I want to cover all aspects of work in this country, because there's people out there that are out there busting their ass every day that's trying to make this country a better place, but doing what they know how.
Yeah, absolutely. We're two of them, right?
Yeah, I like to think so.
Yeah. We're just here to. We want to carve out our place in society and have our off time where we do the things we enjoy in the company of people that we enjoy.
Yeah.
I don't get into politics a whole lot. I know some people do, and that's not what we're going to do. That's not what we do in this That's not what we're going to do in this podcast.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk politics. We're not going to talk religion. It's two things kind of unrelated to the American workforce, but
Absolutely.
so. Well, I think we've ticked off enough time for this episode. If anybody out there from American Axle, you're listening to this or you're watching the YouTube version, you got any comments, questions? If you straighten us out on some of the facts, maybe we got something wrong. If we did, it's not our fault. We got it from the internet, but still, we want to be corrected. We don't want to spread any kind of false information out there.
We're going off from just what we have read and information we gathered on our own, and we're okay with being corrected.
Yeah. We wish the guys with, I say guys, I should say people, because I'm sure there are women workers on that. They can be
sure.
They can be blue collar. You don't have to be male to be blue collar.
Well, we live up here in northern Michigan, so you guys is
a loose term.
It's not a gender term.
Yeah, means everybody. But we wish you all the luck. We hope you get this settled for your sake and for the sake of everybody at GM and everybody going to buy a GM product. We hope you guys get this squared away, get back to work, back on the line, and I hope you're treated fairly as you do that.
Absolutely.
And we hope American Axle, not to take away, I don't want to sound like we're completely taking American Axle and throwing them in the snake pit, but we hope that they continue to thrive as well, because let's face it, at the end of the day, they're the ones that are employing these 1,000 workers. So we want American Axle to thrive to the point where they can offer these 1,000 workers competitive paid jobs, keep the country rolling.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, we're going to sign off. We're glad you guys joined us.
We're going to wrap it up and keep working, America.
Keep working, America. And we will catch you on the next episode.
Yep.